Well, I'll introduce myself. My name is Johan Rehngren. I work as the city landscape architect in Gothenburg. In Swedish, that is Stadsträdgårdsmästare. I will talk to you a little bit about public space and public space in the planning process, and why that is important, and how we deal with it. So there you can see it. So I've named this presentation Close, Cohesive, and Robust, which is the strategic direction for the comprehensive plan of Gothenburg. And that means that public space needs to be close to the inhabitants of the city. It needs to be robust to handle both social issues and climate issues. There's something in the way. And it needs to be cohesive, both on a structural level and so as well as on a social level. This is the European strategy for urban, for biodiversity for 2030. And this is the conclusion in that strategy, that protecting and restoring biodiversity is the only way to preserve quality and continuity of human life on Earth. This is one of the things that we have with us in the planning. This is one of the biggest issues. Another big issue is climate change and the effects of climate change on cities. Cities are especially, sensitive to climate change because we have a lot of people in a very close environment that is really artificially made. So we need to address the issue of climate change when we plan our cities and when we develop them and when we manage them for a long time ahead. Last thing is that we are more and more concentrated to cities. More and more people move into the cities where the cities are growing. So when the cities are growing, we need to address biodiversity and climate change. And one of the best places to do that we really have to use is public space. We have a green plan in Gothenburg. The green plan is what we sometimes refer to as a how-to document. It's by doing it this way that we can achieve goals in our environment and climate program, in our comprehensive plan, and in our program for an equal city. So by doing it this way, when we plan for the public space and the green structure, we can achieve the goals in these documents. And all of the documents that you see on the screen are politically decided documents. So these are documents that the politicians have decided on, that this is the way we need to work in this direction. So the green plan shows how Gothenburg can be preserved and strengthened as a city with great green qualities from both a social, ecological, and economic perspective, while we're also developing the city, so that we're not developing the city and, so to speak, decrease the value in these different ones. And the green plan contains 3 goals. There's an ecologic goal. We need to have a biodiversity in the city. If we don't have that, we don't have any green values. We need to have social values because people meet in public space. They meet in the green space. And it creates a lot of social values, meetings between people, and places for kids to play, places for us to relax. And there are also economic values related to this, huge economic values, because the green space in the city is maybe the most valuable structure in the city. We get a lot of things for free, we say. Of course, they're not for free, but nature does a lot of good for us. And we have 9 strategies to achieve these goals, because you can't measure these goals. This is the direction we want to work in. But by working with these strategies, we can achieve the goals. We can work in that direction. There is an overall goal here, and that is to preserve and develop ecosystem services in the city. That's the main thing. We can do this with these strategies that are quantitative and structural, relates to how much and where. But we also have to talk about quality and what it contains, and that's the content and the quality, that we can't have the same thing overall. We need to have a variation of places in the city. So the ecosystem services is the goods that nature does for us. Clean water, clean air, shades on a hot summer's day, food to eat, energy. And they relate to the United Nations Global Development Goals in this way. So a lot of these goals are directly connected to ecosystem services. That's why they're really important to preserve and develop in the city. And United Nations, they have also made this picture where they group the UN Global Sustainability Goals and relate them to the 3 dimensions of global sustainability: ecological, social, and economic. And you can see in this picture that if we don't have the biosphere, the ecological base, we will not have any social or economic sustainability. In short, the green and blue structures in the city, if we preserve them and develop them in the right way, they will give us ecosystem services. But that's not the end, because the ecosystems functions give us the services, and they give us the benefits. They give us a good health. They give us kids who can develop in the right way. They give us places to relax. They give us clean air. In the end, that gives us values, circle 5. And it's the values that we want, because the values create welfare and sustainability. So what we do in what we talk about today, planning, construction of cities, what we do in number 7 here is either we create a positive spiral here or we create a negative spiral. So we have to ensure that we create a positive spiral and that in the end, we get the values and the welfare. Because the green structure creates values that grow. They don't decrease. They grow over time, trees grow, and they become more and more valuable for us. We also need to ensure in the planning that we have good access to public space, that public space is close to people, that they can use it, that it's big enough for the people in the city, and that if it works for an 8-year-old or an 80-year-old, this is from the 880 Cities Global organization. If it works for them, it works for everyone. So if we think about it that way, so close enough for everyone and big enough, then we will have a city that we want to live in, that we can live in. And we think about this in the planning from the outskirts of Gothenburg, which is the red picture, to the center of the Gothenburg, the green picture, you could say. And we need to address this in all of the planning and all of the management of the city, not just in some parts. And we also work with what we call deep and green plans. So we go into each area of the city and we see, what do we need here? What do we need to add? What do we need to preserve? What do we need to, which gaps do we need to close? And this is support for us in the urban planning, because here we can see the needs. And we also do green structure analysis in the detailed development plans. And this is to know that maybe we have a detailed plan in this place, but maybe there are 5 more around this one. And since the green structure is really important to connect, otherwise it will not work, then we need to do this analysis of a bigger area to see what the impact is. This is a park that we built quite recently. It's an example of a public space that does a lot of good for us. It's a place for people to play and people to meet. It's also a place where there's a high biodiversity. It's also a park that can contain rainwater. So when it rains a lot, we won't have destruction of buildings or flooding, because the park will manage all of this water. So this is also a created value. So the values can be social, they can be ecological, they can be economical, they can be cultural. So we plan a lot of these parks right now in public space, that we see that the public space and the green space in the city can do a lot of good for us. It can save us money, because if we do these things with technical solutions, they cost a lot of money and they decrease over time. We have to rebuild them. But if we do it with green structure like this one, this park, it creates something that will increase in value over time. It will give us more value It will help us with climate effects. It will also create a happier and greener city where people want to live. And this is another one of these parks. So that's how we work a lot. And I would like to just say that our job as civil servants, mine and Henrik's, for example, our job is to create the basis for decision for the politicians. We don't decide. We create the basis for decisions that the politicians need to make the right decisions. So if we fail, the decisions won't be good. So we have to create good basis for decision. That's the most important thing that we do. And our, so to say, target group is not a specific part of society. It's everyone. We work for everyone, and everyone is our target group. That's a big and hard group to work for, but that's really important when it comes to public space, because everyone needs public space. So I think I will wrap it up there, because I think you want to go to lunch. I would just like to say thank you for listening, and
thank you. Thank you so much for this beautiful sentiment at the end. Thank you, Johan.